Welcome to Factorio. My name is Nilaus, and this is yet another reaction video to the Friday Factorio facts. Now, I wasn't planning on doing these regularly, but I wanted to do it when there's something massive that drops, and that certainly has been a massive drop of information in the latest Friday Factorio facts. So here I am with another reaction video. Let me know in the comment section if this is something you want to see continuously as the development of Factorio progresses. If you want to see my analysis and opinions, then I would be happy to do that, but only if there is an interest for it. At least some people have asked me, oh, did you see it? Or what are your thoughts on it? And I went through it on live stream yesterday. So I thought, it makes sense for me to do a more structured video. So here we are. Let's talk about what all this quality is about. For these videos, I'll be going through what the actual feature is, what the implication is to how we play the game, and then my opinion on whether this is good or bad and what it will do to the course of the game as the expansion comes along. The first thing is sort of the motivation about it, and I think that it's really good to start with that they've been talking a bit about this horizontal versus vertical growth, because that's one of the things that I found in my playthrough. When you get to mega base level, all you can do is just take your beautiful blueprint and then stamp them more and more and more. And then of course there are some bottlenecks and some stuff that you still need to deal with, but you're very much scaling out. You have a design and you scale it outwards, and you just take more space in order to make a bigger base. This is allowing you to scale up, to make same blueprint or same footprint in the world, but make it higher quality, make it better. And I think that's excellent. So you have a choice whether to scale out or scale up, or scale up and out in a balanced way. So great, more strategic implications, more things to do for endgame. Absolutely brilliant. So quality, this is the whole topic of this. What is quality? Well, it means that the products can come in different quality, and better quality is better. That's the long and short of it. The first thing that I think everyone is seeing is the coloring, the WoW coloring, and the WoW loot naming. Uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. And I gotta admit, I checked my calendar just to check if it was 1st of April, because legendary solar panel just seems so jarring. The more I think about it, the more I get accustomed to it. And I think that might be sort of the thought process here, is that, yeah, you might find it silly to begin with, but it'll be easily recognizable. For anyone who picks up Factorio, they will see like, oh, I can do this, and then I did that, and then I procced a rare one, an epic one. Oh, the epic is better than the rare, it's better than the uncommon, it's better than the basic. Everyone knows that who's played any kind of game that's WoW inspired or wherever it came from first. So this is something that it's going to be familiar, and maybe, or I think that they favored familiarity and readability over sort of coming up with their own product terms for what is good and better and best quality. And they just sort of adopted something that is industry known. It's okay, but it does feel a bit weird. And I've had a lot of comments that said that they find it jarring, that it's like, oh my god, it's just gonna be WoW loot again. And that's maybe taking a bit extreme, because the function, like getting different quality of the same item, is an absolutely amazing idea. And it's gonna open them so many possibilities. And it's just the presentation. There's also the part about the dots. At first I didn't like the dots. I find it to be a little bit weird and a little bit unintuitive. Like, why not just color it? And I realized, it's accessibility. It's because colorblind people should also be able to know if they found an epic or a rare one, and not just a different shade of gray. So that's, or whatever color you're mixing up. So I think it's good that they haven't thought about accessibility as part of it, and that's going to be a good idea as well. And I'm sure that it can also be modded into something else later on. Now, when it comes to functionality of this here, now there is a bonus, like the normal ones, they stay in the same. There's 100% usability. Every blueprint we have still works. Every masterclass still works. But the thing is, like, if you choose to open this Pandora loot box of quality, then suddenly you need to think about every design in a new way. All ratios will be broken. New possibilities will be open, and that's going to be really interesting. So it's great that it leaves things intact, but you have an option to make things more complicated, and if you make things more complicated, it can get better. I also really like the fact that it says 30, 60, 90, and then 150. So legendary is even more valuable. It's going to be a pain in the ass to get there, but if you do, wow, that's going to be really amazing. You're not going to get it for everything, but you'll get it for the few things that you choose to invest a lot of resources in. Will be absolutely amazing. And I think that's that's a really good opportunity for a late game to sort of expand the game and have something to strive for. So really good addition, and it also meshes very well with the planetary, with space age technology, I think. The actual quality effects, there are listed a number of things, and I think, to be perfectly honest, 95% of this is going to be completely irrelevant. That's me just optimizing the hell out of the game. I don't think anyone would want to have a legendary power pole. It's just a lot of money or a lot of resources put into an item that just has a little bit bigger range. I don't think that's where you're going to be seeing it, and I don't think that it's going to be applicable in very many cases. So what I'm thinking is that you want to focus on getting higher quality items for things that have few items in your base but a large effect. So what do I mean by that? Well, inserters, not really, because you need thousands and thousands of inserters, and getting them all up to legendary is going to be extremely expensive. But something like your Spidertrons, you have few Spidertrons, and each one is a significant investment, so put an even more significant investment and then it'll be even better. Larger grid, more armor, more durable. It can take a beating so much better. I think that another thing that's going to be absolutely amazing is personal equipment, because you can only have a limited number of personal equipment, and they are so great. If you look at the up there, if you look at the robot, the personal robot port, it has more robots, it charges faster, and it can charge more at the same time, or recharge rate and max consumption. So it's just better in every way. That means you can have more robots. Robots can also, personal robots, it's also another one that's going to be absolutely amazing because they have more battery. Like your house robots you have in the entire base, you will have thousands of those. So you're going to get all thousands of those, all 10,000 robots upgraded? Probably not. But the 200 you have in your personal robots, oh, those you really want to get upgraded. And that's the thing I'm thinking about. Like, think about things that you'll have a limited number of, and those are the ones you want to focus on. But first, before any of the other things, the first thing you want to do with your productivity modules is to get better productivity. No, not productivity, better quality. Quality modules goes into better quality modules, because once you have better quality modules, there's a higher chance of proccing the higher quality items, and that means you sort of can get the ball rolling. That's like the same with productivity modules. You want to get that going and get the most expensive stuff. Productivity module is another great thing. Right now, the most expensive thing and the best place to put productivity modules is in the rocket. So even though rocket will be moved from sort of the latest tech to maybe to blue tech, then it'll probably still be a very expensive thing. So if you can put legendary, you can't, not because they are not unlocked, but you can get the best damn quality modules or productivity modules. Higher quality productivity modules have a higher yield, and those will be put into your most expensive stuff, such as the rocket launch, blue circuits, science maybe, I don't know. So it's what I think that almost all of your, well, not almost, I think that's all what you're going to be focused on for this game, and not power poles, not inserters, not early, at least. That'll be like really late, but more productivity modules, more Spidertrons, personal equipment, personal robots. Those are the ones that will be soaking up all your quality. And then, of course, sort of the sub ingredients to feed into that. And it's going to be really interesting to make cool designs to get to that. So how do we get this higher quality? Well, it's implemented with modules, and I think that's brilliant that they chose to use it with modules, because we know how modules work, and now we have the same tiers of modules. They probably cost the same, they unlock at the same levels, all those things. Super amazing ways that it's been implemented. So it's sort of adding to something we already know, and then it's going to be balanced between productivity, speed, and quality. I'm never going to be mentioning efficiency because, well, you know, they suck. So it's a great way to do that. It's a percentage chance to proc. So like the productivity is a percentage chance to get, well, no, it's actually not a percentage chance to proc. It's just accumulated and then you get it very deterministically. But here it's a percentage chance to proc. And I think that's great. It's interesting because it allows us, or it forces us to do filtering so that we can sort of filter out other products as they get there. It also means that you can get your Mark 1, 2, and 3 productivity quality modules, and then you can also get those higher quality, and that's interesting, and that increases the chance of getting something better. So if we look at this this graph here, with the best product quality modules, Mark 3 quality, you have a 10% chance of going one step up, which is good, which is what you should be thinking about. There is one thing that's missing from this one, and that is because all of these quality modules are basic, but if they were legendary quality modules, it would actually be 25% chance. So you have a 25% chance to going up a level, and then you have a disproportionate chance of going sort of multi-levels up. And I think it's interesting that you can also do multi-level, because if you think about it, like going 10% chance to go up one level, and then you roll through the same process again, and then it's 10% chance to going up another level. Well, those two steps means that there's a 1% chance to go 2 levels up, which is exactly what there is. There is actually a 10% or a 1% chance of skipping a level. And I think that's good. That's a really good way. I think that it's a bit strange, because it actually means that you could, instead of doing the one tier, you can just keep rolling the dice at the lower tier. You just have to roll the dice a lot more. It's a little bit weird, but it's something we'll have to experiment with once we actually get the features in game. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, what kind of designs are going to be most efficient. Another thing that's mentioned here is that there's a quality penalty for speed modules. Now, at first I was like, wow, that's big. And then I was like, no, it's not big. And then I was like, yeah, that's a big again. So what does it mean? Well, it means that if you are focused on quality builds, you can't just throw speed modules around it. Because that was my first thought, was like, okay, well, why in this animation here do they have modules, legendary modules? It seems wasteful, because you could just put some speed modules around it, and you don't have to waste any quality items to get legendary assembly machines. But I was like, brilliant, that's the reason. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to use speed modules, because I think that you will have your standard science builds will just be the normal, big, large, basic ones. Maybe you have a better assembler here and there, but they will not be focused on quality. But you will have separate builds for quality that's going to be going into your production capabilities, like assemblers and mergers and that kind of thing. But I think there'll be 2 separate builds, one with productivity and speed modules that's going to be mass, and that's going to be for bulk production, for science, and for whatever production you need. And then you'll have a dedicated build that's separate, which will focus on upscaling and upcycling higher quality, and that's going to be used for dedicated builds, so you can do them. And I think it's good, because if you want to focus on quality, then you also should focus on quality on the assemblers building the quality, because you can't just put speed modules in. So great change. It's a small change, but it will balance out and just make it more desirable to make assemblers higher quality, which is good. So recycling, this is the last piece of the puzzle, because if you're trying to upcycle things into higher quality, then you're going to be left with a lot of things that are not higher quality, and you want to get rid of those, or maybe recycle them, and that's where the recycler comes in. The first thing we should notice about this recycler, new building, it's also a new feature. It doesn't use inserters to put out on the belt. Isn't that amazing? It's actually functioning as a loader. I hope that many more buildings will do this, because it's going to be... this is so nice. It's so nice that they are actually doing this, and I really want to see more of this, because I love the loader functionality, and I really wish it was part of the main game, and I understand why it's not, but I really wish it was anyway. But here you have the loader functionality as something outputting from directly from a machine onto a belt. Interesting. It can take 4 modules, and those 4 modules can then basically be productivity, which means you get less waste, or they can be quality, which means the waste is higher quality. That's really interesting. Like, that's something I thought about. Like, that's so weird that you can actually make a normal item and then break it down, and then the broken down parts are higher quality than the input part. That's super interesting. And I guess that's just how it works, and that means you can upcycle things by just breaking them down and then get higher output materials. That's really cool, and something we definitely need to do some cool designs for, and also something they have shown a design for as well. So it says that it only gets 25% of the resources back again, which is very low, and it's a bit of a problem in general. But then you can say, well, productivity will give you more. So if you go all in on higher quality productivity. So first of all, what is a legendary recycler doing? I would guess that it returns a higher percentage of materials. That would make sense. What is a legendary Mark III productivity module doing here? well, that also gives you more return materials. So I think that the idea is that they've sort of put all this together and want to make sure that that never gets more than 100%, because you don't want to sort of have a positive loop where you can just invent resources out of the blue. And if you do that, then suddenly you have a situation where your factory is run by recycling, and that's a good thing that they took care of that, so that you can't just accidentally do that. But as soon as you add mods, then that becomes like positive loops, and you don't want that in the base game. Definitely don't want positive loops when you invent resources out of the blue. So good that they spotted it, good that they take care of it, and that's going to makes a lot of sense. I wonder what happens if you break down an epic item. Do you get epic components, or do you just get basic components? I don't know that, and I can't really see that. So that's going to be something we'll have to figure out and test and incorporate into advanced calculations. It says here that there are a legendary item is 56 times more expensive than a normal item. I think that's a pretty good ratio, and of course it can probably be lowered, but it's a good ratio of just saying like that really, really expensive, and they should be, because it's late game items. So how is this unlocked? Well, they say that it's unlocked. The base ones are available normally, and then the epic is available on one of the planets, and the legendary is only available on the last planet. I think that makes sense for two reasons. First of all, you want to encourage people to go out and explore and expand and get the planets and unlock everything, to unlock all the tech. Great, that's what we want. On the other hand, but additionally, it also means that if you give people the legendary option really early, they end up just grinding it out to get that legendary before they actually set up a factory that can support it. So it's a gigantic trap to go for the legendaries, because they cost 56 times as much, 56 times as much to pay for a Spidertron. Yeah, maybe 56 Spidertrons would have been better for clearing biters, and that's really the thing that you have to think about. Like, how do you want to do this? So it's definitely something you want to do when you have a factory that is up and running and is producing a lot. Then you can start sort of wasting resources on getting better items, and I think that's great. It's again late game options that we can dive into. So they rounded off by talking a bit about the strategy implications, and I'll just go into this as well, because I think that's some key points here. One of the first part is like, the first thing you have to do is choosing where to apply your quality modules. That's a strategic choice. It's also a strategic choice whether you're going to be choosing quality or productivity. So great that we have more choice in the game. More choices leads to more tension, leads to more decisions, makes more unique bases, and all these things at some point it'll be figured out. I'll help you do that on what is better, and then we'll have some standardized designs, I'm sure, but more variation. It means that it's not as obvious what is the best, because by now everything has been solved in Factorio. So when we add this multi-tier of legendary, there will be some who will be pushing for everything must be legendary, and me, I will not push for that. But there will be some places where we focus on it and some places where we don't, and they'll give more variation on how you want to build your factory. Excellent. Another thing is the balance between science production, which I don't imagine will be quality driven, but will be productivity driven. And then the quality driven part of your base, that'll be, that's trading off between where you're directing your resources in your base. Are you directing it to science, which is the only thing you can do right now? You build it into the hub of what you need, and then everything else goes into science. Here, now you will start needing to look at, will it be 60% science, 40% quality? That could be a way to look at your sort of base split. And it's going to be really interesting having that balance of some will focus too much or a lot on quality, and some will focus a lot on science. And either way, you will need to strike the balance that fits for you. Great idea as well. For the interplanetary with the space age, I think it makes a lot of sense to have this, because let's say that you want to move to a new planet. Now I'm just imagining how it's going to be. You're going to bring a lot of resources there, but maybe instead of bringing a lot of modules and beacons and assemblers and belts, then you bring less but higher quality. That means fewer payloads brought over to the other planet. That means less resources spent on rockets and rocket fuel, whatever it is that you bring over there, because your base is going to be smaller, because it's built out of high quality items, so you can get more bang for your buck on a new planet. That makes a lot of sense to me, that you are sort of preparing at home so that what you send over is fewer items at higher quality. Great idea as well. Also, particularly in terms of space platforms, since you have to build the space platform, you have to spend money on every single tile that you want to build, and that means you're not really going to be having too much space up there. And that again means that if you want to make sort of compact, then you build tall instead of wide. You build scale up with, instead of having modules and beacons and that kind of thing, then you have legendary assemblers taking care of it, because legendary assemblers are just so much better than the normal assemblers. And I think that's a great way of sort of having your base on the ground on Nauvis being sort of big and sprawling, and then in the orbit you will have a smaller base because it's expensive, both bringing it there and supporting it and all that stuff. And that base will be using higher quality items. It makes sense. Send the higher quality items to space. Makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, there's the elephant in the room, the loot crates. And I'm happy that they mentioned it, because there is a loot crate box opening feel to it. There's this gacha mechanic that if you make your first power armor, your first equipment slots, like those things that are really important, your first Spidertrons, you are taking your best quality modules and you're putting them into the assembler. You take all the resources in and you just crush your fingers, because you only can afford one of those. And it's 10% chance of becoming an uncommon and a 1% chance of becoming a rare. Come on. Damn it, I didn't get it. Look, but when you get it, man, that's gotta be a rush. And the great thing is, like as they also mentioned, it's not something you can pay for. It's not microtransaction based. You can just throw sheer volume at it, which is what we're good at when playing Factorio. We just throw massive volumes at it, because at some point it's not like, oh, come on. It's just, I just roll the dice again and again and again, and anytime I don't get it, then I just recycle it. But anytime I get it, awesome, filter it aside, play a sound so I can come back and pick up my epic power armor. And that's a great thing, because it can both be this gacha mechanic, but it can also just be statistics when you start scaling up, and that's exactly what we love to do. Last thing mentioned is about the engine support, and it makes sense, because this is something that permeates all parts of the game. You need to put it into blueprints, into filtering, into inserters, into circuits, into modding, into visualization, into everything. And this is something that I was missing when I reviewed the previous Friday Factorio Fact with Space Age, that they were sort of not really presenting anything they presented something that was an add-on on top of the game, but not something that sort of permeates the entirety of the game. And this is something that definitely permeates the entirety of the game. And this is also where, sort of on the conclusion side of things, I'll be looking at it. So first of all, on the conclusion side, this is an exceptionally good idea. I love it in every way. Maybe except the naming, but you know, readability over sort of thematic part, because everyone knows what epic, legendary, uncommon, how they refer to each other, because that's just industry standard. It feels jarring, but we get used to it. Like legendary solar panels just seems so weird. But you know, we'll get used to it. But it's a great idea, and I love it for a specific number of reasons. First of all, it doesn't break the game as it is, which I think is super amazing. Like everything still works. Your base will continue to work. It just could be better. And once you start going into this, then it completely changes the game, completely changes designs, both in terms of having existing designs become better, but also in terms of having new types of things that you need to design. You need to design quality builds, you need to design upscaling, upcycling things. It's going to be super amazing to go into all those details and figure out how are you actually going to do this. I'm looking forward to those design challenges, and you can definitely expect a monstrous amount of masterclasses, both in terms of how you would build your existing builds with using these capabilities, the higher quality items as part to improve your build, but also in terms of sort of making specific designs on, I don't know, how to make a good Spidertron, like a dedicated Spidertron build where all the ingredients are sort of filtered and cycled and all that stuff, all automated. It'll be super awesome. I'm really looking forward to getting into those kind of designs again. Then I think that it fits very well with the space theme, like the whole idea that you don't always scale out, but you can now also scale up, and that gives some choices for late game, which is something that was sorely needed. I am working on a video that will illustrate how much it is needed, and it's something that you can continue to optimize during late game, and I think that's amazing that you will never really get to a point where everything is legendary, and if you do, you played it for way too long and you invested in the weird things. But it's something that you can always just, all right, now we finally get this, okay, we have more, now we can do this higher quality items, and just keep replacing and keep focusing on where to invest your higher quality items. So I think this is good in every single way, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's going to be my wrap up of this. If you want to see more of these Friday Factorio facts, whatever, FFF review and reaction videos, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think would be the best thing to focus on first. If there's something obvious I'm missing, nuclear reactors maybe, that's something I could be missing. And then a short note is that I'm actually starting up a space exploration series on Twitch, and there'll probably be a little bit of work here on YouTube as well. So if you want to watch some space exploration, me diving into that, again, never say never, then I am streaming that. That's going to be tomorrow. If you watch this on release date, that's going to be starting Sunday, and it'll be running on once a week on Twitch, and it'll be I'll be putting some videos, reviews, and showcases and guides for this here on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and make sure you also check out my Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/Nilaus. And if you don't know when I'm streaming, then check out my Discord. That is discord.gg/Nilaus, and hang out over there. I will always notify there when I'm streaming, if I'm delayed or if I make changes to my schedule. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and stay effective.